Lakini mimi nasema yaliondwele sipite.
What?
Yaliondwele sipite.
I paid for your school fees to go and learn.
Greetings, folks. Welcome back to Hold My Mic, the show where we take the week's biggest headlines, shake them vigorously, and see which explanation falls out. On today's episode, leaders are confusing titles.
How are you, Madam Speaker, sir?
Passports are appearing in places they probably shouldn't. Superpowers are launching missiles like it's a fireworks festival. And somewhere in Afghanistan and Uganda, people are inventing entirely new relationship management policies. As always, our job here is to do what responsible citizens always do when the world stops making sense. We sit down, we look at the evidence, and we ask the most dangerous question in politics. How exactly did we get here? My name is Willis. We begin. Drop the beat, or in this case...
Niweke nini?
Mawe.
Niweke nini?
Mawe.
Bas, ni mbaya. Wait.
Hold my mic. Hold my mic. Hold my mic. Yo, hold my mic. Hey, hold my mic. Hold my mic. Hey, hold my mic. Hold my mic.
What is the Swahili saying for when something is in the past?
Yaliondwele sipite.
Oh, yes? Well, she is back. Stay tuned and I'll tell you how. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to like and hit that notification button. Ding! Because...
Mimi nataka niulize comrades. Comrades power. Mimi nasikia kuna watu wanatafuta power. Comrades power. Sijui ni hii power yenu ama ni power ingine. Ni gani? Ni hii yenu. Comrades power.
All right, Kenya, let's begin in Machakos County, where last week's State of the County address delivered by Governor Wavinya Ndeti managed to become something slightly different from what the Constitution probably imagined. It wasn't a policy speech or a governance update. No. Wavinya delivered a masterclass in unintentional comedy because when the governor arrived at the county assembly to deliver her annual address, she was welcomed by the Speaker of the House, and she greeted her like this.
How are you, Madam Speaker, sir?
Oh, yes, you heard that right. Madam Speaker, sir. Now look, protocol can be confusing. Titles can be tricky. Parliament has honorables, right honorables, and people who are only honorable on Tuesday. But this one was absolutely special because the Speaker of Machakos County Assembly, Ann Mwikali, is very clearly a woman. So hearing Madam Speaker, sir, felt like the equivalent of ordering a beer with 0% alcohol. And unfortunately, that was just the opening act because once the speech actually began, things got even more educational. At several points during the address, Governor Wavinya appeared to struggle reading sections of the prepared speech, pausing awkwardly and stumbling through words.
We have approved sites for world-class institutions, including I'm thinking of hospital. Ultra-modern football, Kenya... decentralized... Madam Speaker.
While eventually Wavinya simply abandoned the speech altogether, and yet the members of the county assembly before her, they continued clapping enthusiastically.
Madam Speaker, the Department of Public Works has been operating from a condemned building in the demotivated Can I take some water?
Which raises an important question. Were the MCAs applauding the speech or applauding the effort in him? Mama amejaribu sana. Because at some point, the atmosphere stopped feeling like a legislative address and started feeling like a primary school test where the teachers just clap so that the child doesn't cry. Usijali, Baba, you are doing well. And here's the thing that makes this moment even more fascinating. Governor Wavinya is not some accidental leader who wandered into public office from a border stage. No. According to public records, she studied at Kenya High School, one of the country's most prestigious secondary schools. She later graduated in computer science from the London South Bank University and obtained further postgraduate qualifications from the City University of London and Heriot-Watt University in Scotland in it. So, academically speaking, this is someone who has navigated British universities, computer science coursework, and our postgraduate studies, all of them abroad. And yet last week, reading a simple speech in the Machakos County Assembly, she came off like this.
Including ultrasound. I'm thinking of hospital. Ultra modern football. Kenya.
In the
Now, to be fair, public speaking is not easy. Even experienced leaders sometimes stumble, and teleprompters sometimes fail.
Because the teleprompter is not working. Whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
Pages get shuffled, words betray us. But what made this moment unforgettable wasn't just the struggle. It was the confidence of the applause behind her. Tuendele, good job. Because even after abandoning the speech midway, the MCAs clapped like they were watching the eighth wonder of the grammatical world. And that tells you something very important about politics. Sometimes the speech doesn't matter. Sometimes the only thing that matters is that the microphone is on and that loyalty is louder than grammar. Because if we are being honest, county assemblies have mastered a very unique skill. They can applaud anything. Budget speech, clap. Road announcement, clap. Mispronounced paragraph, clap. Complete abandonment of the script, standing ovation. And at this rate, if the governor walked in and read a supermarket receipt, the chamber would still erupt like it's Independence Day. And never forget, Wavinya is the very same person who gave us this banger.
Lakini mimi nasema yaliondoa ile sipite.
What?
Yaliondoa ile sipite.
Another banger. But jokes aside, the State of the County address is supposed to be an important accountability moment. It's where a governor reports to the people through their representatives on development progress, budgets, and service delivery. It's governance, it's oversight, it's transparency, not a dramatic reading rehearsal. Because Machakos residents, they deserve clarity about roads, about healthcare, water projects, and even county spending. Not an episode of guess what page we're on. And yet, the most memorable policy takeaway from the entire address was 3 immortal words. Madam Speaker, sir.
How are you, Madam Speaker, sir?
And honestly, in Kenyan politics, that might still be the most accurate description of the system, where titles are confusing, accountability is optional, but applause is guaranteed. And maybe even intentional, so that we don't really get to the real issues. Kudos, Wavinya, kudos.
We are saying we do not want our girls to carry balls. We want them to play ball.
Now, our next story comes with a very uncomfortable question. Not about roads, not about taxes, but about identity. Because for most of us, the Kenyan passport is more than just a travel document. It's the little navy blue booklet that tells the world this person belongs somewhere. But according to a growing scandal this past week, some people may have received that belonging a little too easily. Now, reports emerging from the leaked immigration documents suggest that several foreign individuals of questionable reputation were issued with Kenyan passports, triggering outrage across the country. And the names on that list are not exactly random tourists who got lost on their way to Masai Mara. One of them is Algoni Hamdan Dagalo, a senior figure linked to Sudan's Rapid Support Forces, better known as the RSF. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it's because he is the brother of RSF Commander Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, also known as Hemedti.
Welcome to your other home.
Thank you. Now, that's the same RSF that has been accused of internationally of atrocities in the Darfur region during Sudan's brutal conflict. And to make matters even more awkward, Algoni Dagalo himself has been sanctioned by the United States over his role in that paramilitary structure, which raises a fascinating diplomatic puzzle. Because normally, when someone is sanctioned internationally, countries make it harder for them to travel. But according to these reports, someone apparently said, relax, we'll just give him Kenyan passports. Never mind that others have to wait so long and the pages are determined. Now, that wasn't the only name that raised eyebrows. Also appearing on the leaked list is Zimbabwean businessman Wicknell Chivayo, who we've spoke about here before. Now, Chivayo is a controversial businessman who has previously been involved in corruption controversies in Zimbabwe and has served prison time for fraud earlier in his career. Now, he's also a frequent visitor to Kenya, occasionally photographed with the president at State House, as well as at his private Kilgoris residence. And according to the leaked document, he too may have acquired Kenyan citizenship through a questionable process. Now, here's where the story becomes even more curious, because under the Kenyan Citizenship and Immigration Act, obtaining Kenyan citizenship as a foreign national isn't exactly like ordering a SIM card at the airport. You must, number one, live in Kenya for at least 7 years, then demonstrate contribution to the country, pass security vetting, and have your application gazetted publicly. In short, becoming Kenyan is supposed to be a process, but critics say some of the names appearing on this leaked list appear to have bypassed these requirements entirely, which would then mean that our immigration system suddenly developed a new service tier. Forget regular processing. We now have VIP, Express Processing, Warlord Edition. And the government's response so far? Silence. Not a press conference, not a denial, not even a polite, we are investigating statement like they normally do, former commissioner of inquiry, etc., investigate, just a pure disrespectful, kwani mutadu, that kind of silence. And remember, this scandal isn't just about paperwork, it's about reputation. Experts warn that if the Kenyan passport becomes associated with controversial individuals, then ordinary Kenyans traveling abroad could face increased scrutiny at foreign borders. Imagine arriving at immigration in, say, Frankfurt. The officer scans your passport, then looks at you, looks back at the passport, then asks, are you Kenyan, or are you one of the special edition Kenyans? And that is why critics say this controversy goes far beyond politics. A passport is a country's promise to the world. It says that this person belongs to us. We vouch for them. So when that promise becomes questionable, then it's not just about bureaucracy that suffers. It's not just that, it's actually national credibility. And perhaps the most frustrating part of this whole saga is that while Kenyans sometimes wait weeks, even months, to get their passports, some very interesting people appear to have received theirs with remarkable efficiency, which means somewhere inside the immigration system, there may be two queues, the ordinary queue, and then the do you know someone queue? That one. Unajua mtu hapa kweli. And until the government explains exactly what happened here, that suspicion will remain. Because citizenship is not a loyalty program. You cannot just come and collect points, you cannot redeem it, and you definitely should not be able to buy it like duty-free alcohol. And even that comes with special packaging. Otherwise, one day we might wake up and discover something even more surprising, that the Kenyan passport is the most powerful travel document in the world, not because of visa access, but because apparently anybody can get one. This next story takes us to the Middle East, where the news right now reads like diplomacy and more like a very expensive action movie. Less like diplomacy, that is. Because over the past few days, tensions between Iran, Israel, and the United States have exploded into one of the biggest regional conflicts in decades. And the ripple effects are now reaching places you might not expect, including, Habibi, come to Dubai. Let's rewind a bit. February 28th, Israel, with the support of the United States, launched a major military operation targeting Iranian military facilities and leadership sites. The strikes were part of a coordinated campaign aimed at weakening Iran's military and nuclear capabilities. And in a development that stunned the world, the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was reportedly killed in the strikes targeting senior Iranian leadership in Tehran. If you know anything about the Middle East geopolitics, you know that when something like that happens, the response is not going to be a polite press statement. And sure enough, Iran retaliated with a wave of missile and drone strikes targeting Israeli territory, U.S. military installations, and American assets across the Gulf region, including attacks that rattled several Gulf countries. And this is where Dubai enters the story, because Iran's retaliation included missile and drone strike near the United Arab Emirates, with debris causing damage and injuries in areas around Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Now, several people were reported killed and dozens more injured in the UAE as defense systems intercepted missiles and drones over the cities. And suddenly, the world's favorite luxury playground found itself in the middle of a geopolitical crossfire, which must be confusing for the tourists who went there, because imagine flying to Dubai, expecting brunch, beach clubs, desert safaris, Habibi, come to Dubai, only to receive a notification that says, welcome to the UAE, please collect your luggage from Carousel 3 and your missile shelter instructions from Carousel 4. But the consequences of this conflict go far beyond the skyline. The war has also disrupted global air travel, forcing airlines to cancel thousands of flights across the Middle East, including through major hubs like Dubai. At the same time, the conflict has threatened the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most important shipping routes in the world. About 20% of the world's oil supply passes through that narrow waterway between Iran and Oman. And when the fighting began, shipping traffic through the strait collapsed, sending shockwaves through the global energy markets. Now, this means somewhere out there, fuel prices are quietly warming up for their next appearance in your life. Because if there is one thing geopolitics loves, is reminding Kenyans that international conflict eventually translates to high local petrol prices. Now, here's where the regional complexity gets even deeper. Now, Iran doesn't just fight directly. It also has allies and proxy groups across the region, including Hezbollah in Lebanon, which has already begun launching strikes against Israel as part of the wider conflict. What started as a targeted military operation is slowly evolving into a multi-front regional crisis. Missiles in Israel, airstrikes in Iran, drone attacks across the Gulf, shipping chaos in the Straits of Hormuz, and nervous diplomats everywhere trying to prevent this from turning into a full-scale regional war. Because when analysts look at the situation now, they say the conflict could become a salvo competition. That's the diplomatic way of describing a battle to see which side runs out of missiles first, which is a terrifying concept when you think about it, because modern warfare apparently now works like this. Two sides keep launching extremely expensive weapons until someone's credit card declines. Meanwhile, the rest of the world watches oil prices, airline routes, and diplomacy like it's the final minutes of a World Cup match. And perhaps the strangest part of all of this is that Dubai, the city famous for luxury malls, gold vending machines, and indoor skiing, has suddenly become one of the places feeling the tremors of a geopolitical earthquake. Proof that in today's world, no matter how shiny your skyline is, you can't build a tower tall enough to escape global geopolitics. Because when superpowers start throwing missiles, even the cities built on sand began to shake. You can also catch more of this on this Alfa House channel and watch how PLO Lumumba explains this and more. From the Middle East, I want to take you on a global relationship tour. Now, from Afghanistan to Uganda, two completely different countries with two completely different solutions to the same ancient problem. Men behaving badly. Let's start in Afghanistan, where the Taliban government has just introduced a decree that has shocked human rights groups around the world. And we're not making this up. According to reports, the Taliban's new penal code now allows husbands to beat up their wives as long as they don't break bones or leave open wounds. Yes, apparently, the official standard is now violence, but make it medically subtle. Now, the regulation forms part of a sweeping 119-article penal code signed by the Taliban leader earlier this year, with which critics say further erodes women's rights in Afghanistan. And the punishment for a husband who goes too far, up to 15 days in prison, which means in Taliban law, hurting your wife badly enough to break bones is considered serious, but hurting her just enough not to leave visible evidence, apparently that falls into the category of family discipline. Human rights organizations around the world have condemned the decree and as a gross violation of women's rights and another step backward for the Afghan society. Now look, every culture has its complicated relationship debates, but it's not every day you see a legal system essentially publish a how to abuse your wife responsibly handbook. And just when you thought that the story couldn't get stranger, here comes Uganda. Because while Afghanistan seems to be legalizing domestic violence, Uganda may have accidentally invented the outsourcing model. Meet Aleti Crystal. Now, she's a Ugandan content creator who recently revealed in an interview that she runs a service where women hire her to beat up cheating or abusive men. Yes, now according to her own claim, this is now a business model. This is biashara. Aleti says she works with a team and her goal is to beat up 1,000 men by 2027. 1,000 men.
So I've recently started a business where I beat men. So you are in a violent relationship. This boyfriend is trying to scam you. You're confused about him. He's cheating on you. He's beating you up. It's actually given me more money than any content creation gig has ever given me.
Now that's not revenge, that is a performance target, KPI. At this point, we are no longer talking about justice. We are talking about relationship debt collection.
I have a group of people that I work with to beat them back into shape. Do you understand?
Imagine explaining this to your insurance company. Sir, what exactly happened to your injuries? Well, technically, it was customer service. And the internet has now responded exactly how the internet responds to everything. Now, half the people are laughing. The other half are concerned. And the other half are quietly asking, how much does she charge? Because if you step back and look at the situation globally, the world currently has two widely different relationship policies. In Afghanistan, men are legally allowed to hit their wives as long as their bruises are discreet. Meanwhile, in Uganda, men are being warned that if they cheat, a content creator might arrive at your house like a customer complaint department with boxing gloves. Which is a fascinating contrast, really, because one system says violence is allowed. The other system says violence is a subscription service. But beneath the absurdity, both stories highlight something that is actually very serious. Gender-based violence remains a huge issue across the world. Now, whether it's laws that enable abuse or viral internet justice that tries to respond to it, because at the end of the day, neither a Taliban penal code nor a freelance beat-up service is exactly what you could call a healthy relationship policy. But if this trend continues, we may soon see a new global career category, not therapist, not mediator, but professional relationship enforcer, which, knowing the internet, will probably come with an app. Swipe right for love, swipe left for discipline. And somewhere in the terms and conditions, it will say maximum force allowed so long as no bones are broken. However, let the record reflect that violence and abuse is never the answer. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for today. If this week's headlines have taught us anything, it's that the world is becoming increasingly creative in how it explains things. Some explanations come with applause. Wavinya Ndeti. Some come with silence. Hello, State House. Some come with missiles, but eventually reality does catch up. So, as we always like to remind you on the show, stay curious, stay informed, and for us, we'll keep showing up here every single week to read the headlines, to follow the logic, and occasionally to ask the obvious questions nobody else seems to be asking. Until next time, my name is Willis from Buru, and this has been Hold My Mic. Walalay!
Hold my mic. Hold my mic. Hold my mic. Yeah.